Problems are a sign of life. Your relentlessness to solve those problems is what will make you a successful business person or entrepreneur. And unless you get addicted at solving problems, now, by the way, try to solve all your problems, you have no time. You got to solve the most important problems. There's going to be problems you don't solve initially when you're growing your business. If you solved everything, you'd have no cash flow. So you got to know the difference between a normal problem, an abnormal problem, and a pathological problem. If you have a child that is 3 months old and they go to the bathroom in their pants, it's a problem. But it's part of that stage. It's a natural problem, nothing to get stressed about. You have to learn how to divide these up and focus and conquer the ones that are necessary. When COVID happened, suddenly all over the world, they shut down every stadium. I was just doing 10, 15,000 person stadium events. And then they shut down even smaller venues. And so I remember I got a call from the governor's office in California saying, your program you're gonna do in San Francisco, San Jose for 14,000 people, well, guess what? 100 people in the stadium. I said, 100 people, you can't operate that way. But sure enough, they said, that's what you gotta do. I was like, well, I couldn't do that. So I was like, forget it. I'm not gonna let them stop me. I'm relentless, right? I wanna solve this problem. We're gonna move to Vegas. They're never gonna shut down Vegas. So we got 14,000 people over a couple of weeks to move their schedules, book their rooms to go to Vegas. And guess what happened? 10 days out of our event in Vegas, they shut down Vegas. I'm like, oh my God. So I said, we're gonna go to Texas. The governor said he's not gonna bend. I have a friend there has a church in Houston that has more than 15,000 seats. We'll move to Houston. We're gonna make this work. Sure enough, 10 days, 12 days out, it was 12 days out, they shut down Texas. I thought, we're gonna go to movie theaters. We'll go to 14 other movie theaters. They let you put 10 people in each one. They'll have a big screen, they'll have great sound, and at least they'll have 10 people to interact with. And then they shut down the movie theaters. So I built the studio, and that's how I went from solving that problem. And not only that, but then the seminars grew, 25,000, 50,000 person UPWs, 60,000 was the last one we did. So every problem opens up a new opportunity if you have the right psychology, if you're relentless in the way you go about it. I believe the most important skill, one of at least top 3 most important skills in life, is the ability to make decisions. Anybody can make a decision when it's easy, but when it's tough. And so when you think about decisions, it's not your conditions that control your life, it's your decisions. Do you decide to give up? Do you decide, like the example of Robert? What did you decide when they said we won't hire you? What did I decide when they said you can't use our stadium, right? Decisions. But really, a lot of people make decisions and don't follow through. From the moment you decided you were committed, you didn't just decide, you were committed. What's the difference between a decision and a commitment, okay? Decisions are made in the moment. Sometimes it's the easy decision you make in the moment and you follow through. First part is to decide. That means to cut off any possibility except the thing you've committed to. When you make a decision, it comes from incision, right? In Latin, it means to cut off from. So it's like you don't give yourself an option. I always tell people, if you're gonna be successful in business, if you wanna take the island, you better burn the boats. Because as long as you got a way to go back, you're not gonna resolve to move forward. But there's a step even further that some people actually get to, and it makes life so much easier. It's called resolve. Resolve is when you don't just decide, but you take a next step and you take it into the future. It's not just right now I decided, it's like, no, I'm committed to do this through time, no matter what shows up. What does it mean to resolve? Not just decide you're gonna do something, not just commit you're gonna do something, but to completely resolve that this will be, this is done. I remember my teacher, Jim Rohn, used to say, he asked people one time, he asked an audience, you know, what does resolve mean? And this little girl raised her hand, she was only like 13, 14 years old. She said, I think resolve means promising yourself that you will never give up no matter what. And he said, that's a great definition. Resolve means it's done. Now, the last part of decision making, I think it's really important to understand it's all about energy. Now, that's not so it's rah-rah. I've never been into positive thinking. You know, I'm not one of those people that says you got a problem, like you got weeds in your garden and you should go chant, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. No, that is not gonna solve squat. I believe you gotta see the weeds, you gotta acknowledge the problem and pull it out, right? You gotta take action, you gotta see the truth. But what a lot of people do is they just try to, you know, poo-poo it and be happy about it. That's not my approach. I believe you gotta see things as they are But if you're a leader, you got to see it better than it is. You can't see it worse than it is, which is what most people do. They see it worse than it is because they're afraid of failing. So they go, oh, it'll never work, it never does, the economy's this, the person's that, interest rates are that. They come up with all these reasons. Underneath it all, they're afraid they're gonna fail and they feel like they're not enough. But if you can trade that out, instead say, okay, I wanna see it as it really is, not exaggerate the problem. And now I gotta see it better than it is because I need to create a compelling future. Jot this down. Anyone can deal with the difficult today if they have a compelling tomorrow. Anyone can deal with the difficult today if they have a compelling tomorrow, what I call a compelling future. So your job is to create a compelling future for yourself, for your business, for your family, for your employees, even when it's tough, even when the media is telling you the whole world's gonna end, right? And by the way, they're not bad people, they're just doing what they're paid for. They're paid to get eyeballs. They have to make money for shareholders. Shareholders only make money if you give them attention, and then they'll fear sells. That's why they do it. It's not because they're bad people. So if you and I are gonna take back control of our lives, if we're gonna execute on our dreams, if we're gonna go to a different level than we've ever been before, then we have to put ourselves in a position where we put ourselves in a higher energy state. Because in a low energy state, negative thoughts surround you. If the idea is I gotta see it as it is, see it better than it is, that's what makes you a leader. And the third step is make it the way you see it. That requires strategy. But you're not gonna do it unless you have enough energy. And there's a common problem around the world. People became more passive than ever before. They don't even want to drive to work. They don't want to have to get up to do it. They don't want to dress up in any way, shape, or form. Now, I'm not saying that's bad, but it's when you do it all the time, something interesting happens. Your energy lowers, and you get really comfortable, but comfort doesn't produce drive, and without drive, you don't really produce extraordinary results. So even when you're going to learn something, it's real, or make a decision, it's really important you get yourself in a strong state. When you're in a low energy state, your brain is like, you have the best computer in the world, and you don't give it enough electricity, the screen doesn't work. Your brain's the ultimate computer. So when you're low energy, it's hard to come up with solutions. It's easier to see the problems. It's easier to give up. But when you're in a high energy state, right, you know what to do, you know how to do it, you make things happen. So I think it's really important you come up with what seems to be a seemingly impossible goal, not truly impossible, but it seems impossible to you. But you know if you achieved it, it would excite you. What that does is it changes the way you're being. My teacher, Jim Rohn, used to have a phrase. He said, your goals affect you, whatever they are. And some people say, I don't have any goals. And he goes, yes, you do. Your goal is just to be comfortable. And so that's all you get. There's no drive in you, there's no move in you, right? If your goal is to never be in pain, you're not gonna do squat, right? You're never even in a relationship. So if you have no goals, that's still a goal. Your goal is just to survive. Your goals affect you whatever they are. So goals that are big enough and compelling enough. And what's compelling for one person might not be for the other. It's what's compelling for you. So he said, you gotta come up with this absolute incredible goal, this vision that excites you. But then the second secret that I've experienced that he talked about is you need to have a tight timeline. A tight timeline. You know, something that's so tight that it makes you do something today. So if you say, in the next 10 years, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, and you wake up today and you go, oh, I'm gonna do that in the next 10 years, there's no reason for you, there's nothing compelling you to do something today. But if you say, I'm gonna do this the next 10 years, but that means in the next 36 months, the next 18 months, the next 12 months, I gotta do this step that's so big towards the bigger step, then I gotta think differently about how to achieve that. Who's ever been in a state where you couldn't remember your own cell phone or your email address now you know the answer, but when you're in that state, you just can't remember. But within a few minutes, if you move around, you change your state a little bit without even knowing you're doing it, you remember. Well, how many of you have also been in the opposite state? Where you got on a roll, where you are flowing, like, I don't care, you're hitting the tennis ball perfectly, or you're doing a talk, and everything just went so smooth, so great, that you looked at yourself and said, I'm impressed, I did that, that was me, right? So you're the same person. The only difference is the state you're in.